Nelson said this so often. God rest his soul. He said, people, when they're first exposed to the concept, believe that this has something to do with life insurance. Infinite banking concepts, the process of becoming your own banker, has nothing to do with life insurance. And so if you find yourself leaning into those questions because that's the noise, then you have not yet developed a deep understanding of the problem. And believe me, the journey is amazing when you do, because the life insurance policies are just a tool. They're just a tool that enable you to implement a process. And you've got to understand the process before the tool. Otherwise, the tool just won't matter. What would you rather pursue? The purchase of something or the achievement of your outcome, the achievement of your peaceful, stress-free financial way of life? I think it's the latter.
This is not 7-minute abs. This is 7 steps to becoming your own baker. And we want to walk through each one of these steps and expand on, because we've been providing this report, which is, it's been downloaded how many times now? Hundreds of times. And we thought that we would record an episode and just walk through and maybe expand on each of these steps. And that could be a great accompaniment to, hey, now that you've downloaded this report, you should watch this video that kind of expands on each one of these steps. So why don't we dive right in? Rich, take us into step 1.
Yeah. So seven simple steps to becoming your own banker. It's really, it's exactly that. It's very simple. So this isn't a path for you to go and construct your own policy and get into all the minutiae and mechanics of which company do I want to work with and who are all the companies in Canada and like, well, how do I determine what much premium I should pay? Like all these kinds of things. This is something that you do with a coach. Before you get to any of that, you need to first get set with a foundation. We talk about the foundation, setting appropriate foundation for things. Nelson and Nash used to say, you wouldn't build a skyscraper on a weak foundation. And so if you want to build a skyscraper financially in your life around from this day moving forward to every future day that you're taking air into your lungs. And we're not just looking, in a skyscraper, usually there's like that little commercial spot at the bottom, first couple levels. And there's always like maybe this residential stuff above it or whatever. Well, those are all like spaces for the other people you love and care about, your family members, your extended family and stuff. So it's the expansion of that system. That's the skyscraper we're talking about. Jayson, I think as of this recording, you're at 63 policies in your family system?
63-story building.
63-story building. There you go.
Rising.
So, this is kind of the I think this analogy goes really well with what we're doing with people. And so this 7-step report is all about focusing on that foundation and how do we get that foundation poured? And then also once it's poured, how do we let it set?
Yeah.
You pour concrete, it needs some time to cure before you start, building on top of it, et cetera. Right. You imagine you poured a concrete driveway and then the very next day you drove your car on it. You're going to be pretty disappointed with the result of what your driveway looks like. So that's what we're talking about. So the very first step on how do you get started is basically you got to block off 90 minutes of some focused time. Now we have recorded webinars that we have available that you can access. We provide all the directions and report on how to get access to that. And that 90-minute session, you're going to walk through hearing from some of our coaches, Jayson, myself, Sarblo, a number of our teammates, Vern. You're going to be able to hear the foundational components of how this thing of becoming your own banker came to be. How did Nelson start down this journey and what led him to this path? And then what are some of these core components that you need to really truly understand to determine if this is the right fit for you, but also the mindset that's necessary to be successful. It's one thing to get started with something, but it's a whole other thing to be successful at it. And so if we don't have the right mindset in place, we're not going to have the success that we want to achieve. A lot of that really comes down to, an in-depth understanding of the grocery store example in Nelson's book on page 15, because that's where a lot of the core premises come from. In fact, several times in the book, Nelson even says, If you don't understand this, go back to the grocery store and reread it.
And he would also say that once you do understand the grocery store example, the rest of becoming your own banker is ridiculously simple. It's
Right.
a piece of cake, he would say.
And another one of our friends, they would say that, look, if you understand the problem, then the details don't matter. But if you understand the problem, then the details don't matter. In other words, yes, there's some details and you'll work that out with your coach. But if we don't get down to the core of what's happening, the rest of it's just, useless conversation. There's no point in digging into all that minutia until you get down to the core. Once you have that foundational piece, everything just fits into place. And it's like having all the puzzle pieces together versus missing big pieces of the puzzle.
So let's identify each of those 7 steps. And for our amazing editors, they can maybe have that come up, on the screen somehow as they do their wonderful work. So let's read out each one of those 7 steps. What are they?
I can do one better, and we'll just bring it up on the screen.
Okay. Even here we go. Okay.
So here's blocking off. This is like the shortcut version of it. Block off 90 minutes for that focus time for that webinar. Go through that session. Once you get through that, you want to set 60 minutes aside. You want to watch the documentary film. This is Nelson Nash. That film is very, very powerful. It's going to help you understand again. It's going to add additional context onto those foundational principles and really give you an in-depth understanding as to why this matters so much. How did this impact so many people that Nelson has touched over his lifetime? And that's going to lead you to, and again, the order that you do these isn't what's important. It's just that these are important things to happen in the sequence. The next step is really to read Nelson's book. And, the book is 92 pages, but there's only 77 pages you actually need to read. And really, if you strip out some of the illustrations that are in there, that brings it down to more like 70 pages. And we have a guidebook that we recommend that you can actually get access to through the report, a letter that we usually send out that recommends a really good path on reading that book. I did a recording recently with one of our colleagues, Vern, where we talked about that example. And, I like starting at page 85, which is at the very end of the book, and then going back to the front and hitting some of the core pieces. Then we're going to write everything down. In other words, write down your questions. What are the things that are coming up for you after you've gone through this content? Get really clear on those things that you're going to be able to work with a coach on. Start jotting them down, store them in one place, get one notebook to have all that so you can get all those questions answered. Step 5 is really where the rubber hits the road. It's grabbing the bull by the horns. In other words, it's time to make a decision. Based on everything you've learned, is this something that you want to do? Do you want to move down this path? You're not doing it yet. You haven't started anything, but you need to make a decision if it's the right path for you. And you'll have enough information by that point in time to be able to make that decision with some level of confidence. I would think so. Jason, what do you think?
Oh, absolutely. Of course. Yeah. It all comes back to, until you understand the problem, the solution just won't matter to you. And so these steps are going to really help you develop a deep understanding of the problem, so that when you catch this and you say, yeah, this is something that I want to do, I want to implement this process, you're doing so from a place of understanding the problem versus like what you shared at the very beginning. We get contacted by people all the time who say, hey, I'm really intrigued by the process of becoming your own banker. Yet all of their questions are product focused. What companies do you use? What's dividend scale interest rate? Why do you pick one company over another? All the noise.
And when we ask the question, can you just take a moment and walk us through your interpretation of the grocery store example in Nelson's book, Becoming Your Own Banker? And it's like, what are you talking about? Have you read the book? Not yet. Well, until you do, we don't have a basis to really do anything. If you want to purchase a life insurance contract, you're welcome to do that. There are 100,000 plus life license advisors who would love to help you with that. And that's great. Go and do that. Go and get that done in your life. But this is all about becoming your own banker.
Not your advisor is your banker.
Right. Nelson didn't title the book. This is about
find an advisor to be your banker.
Right. Right? This is all about becoming your own banker. And so these 7 steps are crucial. And I think that the way they're laid out is a very good order of things, to progress through your journey of discovery and your journey of learning and your journey of capturing insights and questions that come up for you that are not life insurance product focused. Nelson said this so often. God rest his soul. He said, people, when they're first exposed to the concept, believe that this has something to do with life insurance. Infinite banking concepts, the process of becoming your own banker, has nothing to do with life insurance. And so if you find yourself leaning into those questions because that's the noise, then you have not yet developed a deep understanding of the problem. And believe me, the journey is amazing when you do, because the life insurance policies are just a tool. They're just a tool that enable you to implement a process. And you've got to understand the process before the tool. Otherwise, the tool just won't matter. What would you rather pursue? The purchase of something or the achievement of your outcome, the achievement of your why, the achievement of your peaceful, stress-free financial way of life? I think it's the latter. And so walking through each one of these 7 steps and doing it, I would recommend in that order. It's a very good order. And then once you meet with an authorized practitioner, once you're connected with the right person on our team, everything will begin to change in a positive direction, in a progressive direction, in an accelerating direction, because you truly want to become your own banker.
Well, and some of the reasons that the order is laid out the way that it is, is first off, we learn differently as people. Everyone has a different way of learning. I think we incorporate, the written word, audio, and visual things. We've found that people tend to respond more so or very well so to visual things. So the nice thing about the webinar, the step 1, that 90-minute webinar, is there's visuals in there. It's engaging that way. Usually they end with a Q&A session, so you can pick up on some of the questions that other people have asked, etc. So there's additional things that you're going to get there. And then the next step of watching Nelson's documentary film, again, it's very visual, and that may be your first exposure to hearing Nelson. Well, we don't have Nelson around anymore. So there's a limited amount of resources available to actually give you that connection to the pioneer of this idea, of this concept. And the person that's impacted hundreds of thousands of lives, I would probably say well over millions of lives at this point, based on his work. Well over 500,000 copies of this book, Becoming Your Own Banker, have been sold. I know we sell an awful lot of them out of our office. And then the other thing that's nice here is, look, what's your commitment? Your commitment is to just have focused time to watch a webinar. Well, you're probably going to watch 90 minutes of something on YouTube anyway this week. Like, well, why not do that? You're probably going to watch a couple of shows on Netflix. Okay, well, just reallocate your Netflix time for this week to doing this 90-minute session and then this 60-minute documentary film. The nice thing about the documentary film too is often what we find with people is there's a, we have a spousal relationship. There's 2 people in the household, and one person is usually going down the rabbit hole track of learning a new financial thing, right? They're the discovery person in that zone. And then what happens later is they learn everything they knew. They get really excited. Now they're trying to figure out, how do we drag our spouse kicking and screaming down this path that we've discovered onto something new? And there can be some resistance. Right. Well, the nice thing about the Nelson Nash documentary film is it's a great diffuser of that relationship resistance, because Nelson does all the work for you, Right. And so I encourage people, especially in a husband and wife situation, bring your spouse in or bring your family members in to watch that documentary film and have a discussion. It's a perfect platform to begin opening that doorway of conversation. And Nelson, captured on film in the way that he is, his personality comes through just like it would if you were sitting knee to knee with the man. So there's something palpable that you can connect with in watching that documentary film, which is why it's number 2 on the list. It needs to be on the list. Now, if you get step 1 and step 2 in and you decide for whatever reason that this is not for you, that is perfectly okay. You know what? You saved yourself whatever $30 from ordering a book.
Yeah. And as long as you leave happy.
Yeah, totally. And you can't go on wondering, because at least you have enough foundational knowledge to have an idea what this concept is all about. And you're making a decision that it's not for you. Totally cool. But now the next step is to really make sure you get that copy of the book. We ship them quickly.
We courier them.
We send them all over Canada, and they come fast. And, on average, it takes people roughly 3 hours to read the book. Now, if you read it in the way that we kind of suggest in our recommended way of reading, you could probably carve that time down a little bit. Again, it's only 77 pages you need to read. So just think about that. You've probably read more scrolling through your Facebook feed this week than 70, and, looking at your, the recent news articles that are popping up on your phone. You've probably read more than 77 pages this week, just, sitting on the John. So put yourself in a position to get some good information and learn something new. Spend $30 or whatever it costs to get it shipped to your door, and you're going to come away with an incredible financial education. And now you're positioned, because if you're going to do this, if you make the decision you're going to do this, you're going to need the book anyway. An advisor who's an authorized practitioner most likely won't want to help coach you if you don't own this book anyway, because they would be wondering, what am I coaching you on if you don't even have the core material?
Right.
You're going to be coming back to this all the time for the rest of your life that you're doing this, which will be the rest of your life. You will be utilizing this book. So you're going to need to own it regardless.
Well, and you're going to, you are either going to continue to be the customer of someone else's bank for the rest of your life, or become the owner. Either way, the banking process will happen in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to take control of that? Hopefully it's you.
Now, that step 4 of writing things down. I mean, as you go through the material, try to do that, because then when you have your questions ready for when you book that first meeting with a coach.
Yeah.
Before you book a meeting with a coach, step 6 is about, getting to that first action step. Really is filling in a very simple form. You have a secure web form. It's very point and click. It's logic based, and it takes the average person probably about 5 minutes to fill it in. I mean, if it's taking you longer than 10 minutes, you're overthinking it, probably. So most people fill it, somewhere between 3 and 7 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And you there's a link right there in the document that you could click on. It takes you right to that form. That'll initiate the ability for you to go now book a meeting with a coach. And then there's the step 7 is booking that meeting. It's exactly how to take that step. And then that first conversation is going to be an ability for you to ask a couple of those questions, get to meet an authorized coach, and see if, what the next step is for you at that stage. It may be that, hey, you need to go back and do a little bit more education. Here's a couple of podcasts that we recommend you listen to, specific ones based on what came up in your conversation. Hey, you're a business owner? Great. You should go watch this one where we talk about the capital dividend account. This is going to really add some additional context for you. And then you book that next follow-up meeting with the advisor, and you can start to get into the real, nitty-gritty components, and start down the journey of determining, again, how a plan might be designed for you. So,
and how do you get the report?
Pretty simple, Jay. Head on over to 7steps.ca. That's 7steps.ca, and poof, just like that, there's a little form you fill in, and 30 seconds later, if it doesn't land in a spam folder, you're going to have an email with a link to click on, and bam, that report's right there for you. So,
and some people think the more often we mention it, like we're trying to hypnotize. Like when it's all about 7steps.ca. And when you get to 7steps.ca, you're going to get the 7 steps report. And when you take all 7 steps, you'll be ready to take an 8th step and to implement this process. So when you ease on over to 7steps.ca, again, that's 7steps.ca, you'll get the report. And so that'll be permanently ingrained in someone's mind.
Coincidentally, there's also a couple of bonus steps in there. There's an 8th and a 9th bonus step as well.
But we couldn't name the website 7 Steps
plus 2 bonus steps.
Plus 2 bonus steps.
But we did, there is even, when you do get the report, there's a short little video that shows up immediately, just talking through some of the things to do right away when you get the report. And we've had really good feedback from people. Again, it's not like it's not a book that tells you everything you need to know becoming a banker. That's not the purpose. There's a book for that already.
Yeah.
We're not reinventing the wheel. What we're doing is we're giving you the guide, the path that is the most efficient and the most effective at getting you the mental preparedness to be ready to implement this in your life if you decide to do it. And so it's, again, we walk people down a path of choice, and everything that we do as an organization is centered around the empowerment of your choice to determine what's the right fit for your financial life.
Very well said. Very well said. And we look forward to hearing great stories from you as you progress through your journey, and keep us posted, a comment on the video, reach out, get connected with the right person on our team, and get ready to transform things financially in a very positive way.
Now, I'm going to add a little bonus thing on there that pops in my head, of course, as I do from time to time. One thing that's not in the report, probably because it wasn't available when the report was signed, is there's a really great resource. So as you're going through all these steps, this is something you can additionally, if you want to, sometimes we just get inspired that we want more information. Obviously, all our podcast episodes are available to you for that. But additionally, there's a really wonderful resource of Nelson himself teaching that's being released presently. It's still being released. We're coming to the end of the sessions, but there's going to be about 30 videos of a Nelson seminar, and some of which he's walking through his book. And you can go to Learn From Nelson. That's learnfromnelson.com. It'll take you right there. You can watch all those clips. And if you go through all those, it'll be very much as though you sat through Nelson's seminar, or a condensed version of it. And you're going to get a ton of great value and a ton of learning out of that as well, if you want to continually be inspired in your learning journey.
Very cool. Awesome.
Well, good stuff, Jay. Let's get ready for our next recording. We've got a couple more gooders today to keep helping out our wonderful listeners on this journey of discovery of entrepreneurship and the business of becoming your own banker.
Sounds good to me.